Joke's on you guys, I don't own one single jewel. At all. Broke rapper wins again. Boom. What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad of Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews. Hip Hop Data. We got another album review today, and we're going to be talking about an album that just came out not too long ago, probably a couple weeks, getting all kinds of love and attention. So I got to holler at it because that's what we do. We're talking about Run the Jewels 2. Now, Run the Jewels is the collaborative effort between New York MC producer LP and Atlanta MC Killer Mike. Now, they first started working together a few years back when LP did all the production on Killer Mike's album Rap Music, which got received very well. From that became the collaborative group known as Run the Jewels, and they put out a debut album that surprisingly became an overnight success and an instant hit, and everybody just loved the record and, you know, the group itself. So 1 year later, they're back with their sequel album, Run the Jewels 2, and which is the follow-up, and it's coming out on Massive Hill Records, which they just signed to, which is the label I think ran by Nas, or Nas is like, you know, the big component of the label, as well as Massive Hill, which is a company. Anyway, they're a part of it now. So let's talk about the album. Now, personally, I'm not too big into LP or Killer Mike. I am familiar with both the artists, and I do respect, you know, their talent. They're both very talented. They both got a great catalog. LP over, you know, doing all the work he did with Def Jux and, you know, all the great stuff he's done. And Killer Mike, you know, coming out with Outkast and Dungeon Family and everything like that. So I'm very familiar with both of them. And, you know, it didn't, you know, really make sense to me at first when I heard that they were coming together to do an album, because they're so different as far as, you know, MCs and artists and everything like that, especially where they come from, one being from New York and one being from Atlanta. But when the album came out and I heard the first Run the Jewels album out of curiosity because I heard everybody talking about it, I was pleasantly surprised by their chemistry and how well they were able to, you know, work together on this project. And I think it lends to, you know, all the work that they did on Killer Mike's last album before that, Rap Music. So now fast forward to a year later, and now they're back again, you know, coming off the momentum of, you know, the success of the first album, and they're here with the second one. Now, the thing about Run the Jewels 2 that I find different than the first one is the sound of it, and not only that, it seems to be more focused and more aggressive than the first Run the Jewels. Killer Mike and LP are very aggressive MCs, and they spit hard, and they spit with no BS, no bull. That's what you get from a Run the Jewels project, and this is no different. And then their sound is more, it's more melodic, but it seems more darker and more eerie and more aggressive and just more harsh. And it lends really well to Killer Mike and LP's, you know, styles and whatnot. Now, for me personally, some of the songs here I really do like, and some I really don't care too much for. And I think it's just because, you know, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming with the aggressiveness and aggressive nature and some of the content that they're talking about on this record. But all in all, Killer Mike and LP are spitting some really great lines, great rhymes and everything like that. And they're just coming at it with their unique approach to making music. Like, there's nothing like Run the Jewels out right now. The way that they make their music, the way that they, you know, bounce back and forth off each other. It's even sometimes in the songs where they actually finish each other's lines, or, you know, or it just seems like, you know, they're just in sync with each other, like, so well. They're opposites, but they, you know, they come together so well. And I think that's the appeal and the great thing about Run the Jewels as a group, that they can actually, you know, come up with a meet in the middle situation, because they're coming from two polar opposites, but they know how to actually, you know, lend to both each other's strengths and come together and make a great record. Now, for the most part, when I sat and listened to this album over and over again, I didn't get anything, a wow factor, but I think it's just because, you know, I'm not really, you know, the biggest LP or Killer Mike fan, but I do respect what they do. So I thought it was a really great album. I really enjoyed it. I didn't get bored listening to it. I really was, you know, entertained. I like the way that the songs seamlessly flowed from one to another. I'm a big fan of that. I do that with my records. For the most part, it's just a great listen, but it is very dark and harsh, and sometimes, you get a little uneasy hearing certain subject matters and whatnot, but they also, it's just, you know, it's unfiltered. They don't pull any punches, and I gotta respect that from both of them. So, you know, there's not really any songs on here that I say I absolutely hate it. I can listen to this album straight through, but with that, there's nothing that really jumps out to me too much. There are some standout tracks that I'll name in a minute, but for the most part, there's not a track that's like, oh my God, this is that track. It's like everything just seems to be on that same level with me, and it seems to just sound really good, you know, and it kind of spikes up a little bit, but then it goes back down to that same intensity and level. that you get from this album. But it is a good album for the most part. I don't really have anything bad to say. The rhymes are great, you know, the content is great, the chemistry is great, the production is great. I really like LP's production on here. It's very laid, it's very thick, and it's got a lot of, you know, different sounds and real eerie sounds. I'm a fan of those eerie, you know, production, you know, that stuff that just isn't traditional hip hop. It kind of incorporate other sounds and stuff like that and just make it this big mash of things. And they got a lot of good, you know, features on here. They got Travis Barker, and they got, you know, Zach De La Roca, and, you know, a whole bunch of other people on here too. A Gangsta Boo, who has a real, let's just say, aggressive verse on her song, you know, on a song that she's on. I'll get into that in a minute. But it's just, you know, they really, you know, crafted this album really well, put it together real well. It's only 11 tracks, it's only 40 minutes, it's not that long, and it is a straight playthrough for me, but it just nothing really jumps out to me, but I can't say nothing really steers me back from not wanting to hear the album when I was listening to it. So now let's get into my top 5 tracks. Now there's 11 tracks on here, but these are the 5 that I feel like really stood out the most to me. But like I said, not most of the album is a straight playthrough. It really didn't do too much of a standout, but it is something that really stuck more in my head with me, and I have to read them down. One is Oh My Darling, Don't Cry, Blockbuster Night Part 1, All My Life, Lie, Cheat, and Steal, and Love Again. Those are the ones that stuck out to me the most and that I really enjoyed the most. And on Love Again, that's the song with Gangsta Boo, and she just gets a little raunchy on there, and it's just like, whoa. Actually, everybody does on that record, but it's just like, you know, Gangsta Boo just didn't give a fuck. But it is a good song. The whole one, and all the other ones I named, but the whole album sonically is pretty damn good. And for someone who isn't that into LP or Killer Mike, I really enjoyed this Run the Jewels record. Actually, I enjoyed it more than the first Run the Jewels record. But they're completely different. But I enjoyed them both. But it's for something about this one, I think it's the sound and the production that really drew me into this one more than the previous one. And, you know, they really are rapping their asses off. There's so many lines in here. I did like one line LP said on Lie, Cheat, and Steal. He says, I chose to go guano, you know, kind of batshit. That was dope to me, because if you don't know what guano is, batshit. It's a term for batshit. If you watch Ace Ventura 2, you will know that. That's where I know that from. But I thought that was a dope line. And also Killer Mike, he had a crazy verse. I liked his verse on the song. I don't know if it was on my top 5, but I think it was on the song earlier where he was talking about, you know, getting pulled over by the cops, and, you know, the whole story he talked about. That was a dope verse too. And that was a dope song too, but it just wasn't in my top 5. It inched there, but it wasn't. But I did like that verse. So for the most part, Run the Jewels 2 is a pretty good album. It's produced well. Killer Mike and LP both come in and do some great work on the lyrics and the songs, and the features come through and do their thing. And, you know, all in all, it's a straight through listen. Like, I mean, I like how it flows seamlessly from one song to the other. The energy stays, and it is very harsh and very dark and very gritty and very brutal and just very, very aggressive. But that's what Run the Jewels is, and, you know, they do it well. Now, personally, like I said, for me, Killer Mike and LP aren't my favorite MCs. I do respect them, and I do think they're very talented. But I think for me personally, I'm not going to go back and revisit this album too much as more as other albums that I've heard. But I do think for people who are fans of Run the Jewels and fans of Killer Mike and LP, I completely understand why they love this album and love this group, because they are great together. They have great chemistry. They flow well with each other. They're creatively bounced back and forth off of one another, and it works. Even when they're trying to be more, you know, innovative, it works because, you know, they know where to go with their styles and what, you know, their strengths and their, you know, are when it comes to making the music and making these records. So for the most part, Run the Jewels, in my opinion, is a great album. I personally won't go back and listen to it too much, maybe here and there, but it's not going to be something I'm going to be constantly playing. But it is, you know, for listening to it for, you know, just this few weeks that I've been hearing it, I have nothing bad really to say about it. So my final verdict, I'm not saying that Run the Jewels 2 is a great follow-up to an already great first album. All I'm saying is that LP and Killer Mike both came through. They seem more focused, they seem more hungry, they seem more aggressive, and they wanted to show more of what they can do together as a group, and I think it worked well. Run the Jewels 2 is a great follow-up. There's nothing really wrong with the album. It plays great, it sounds great. They come through with what, you know, Run the Jewels is known for. I mean, it's aggressive hip-hop music with a lot of different weird dark undertones, but it works for them. And I think that those opposites from LP and Killer Mike coming together really make this a very unique and strong group that I think is going to be around for a while, and they're going to be one of those groups that people talk about for years on end. Now, for me personally, I'm not gonna, you know, go and revisit the album too much. I may give it a spin here and there, but it's not gonna be something that I'm gonna be going gaga over. And I think that's just personally because, as you know, a listener, I don't listen to LP or Killer Mike on that much of a level to really be super invested into them, but I do respect what they're doing, and the people who are fans of it, I completely understand why. So for me personally, I'm not gonna give Run the Jewels 2 a full Granddad approved, but I am going to give it a very, very, matter of fact, scratch that, super highly Granddad recommended. And that's only because everything about the album is good. It's just on a personal level, I'm not the LP Killer Mike super fan, so I can't give it that full approval because I gotta be a super fan of you. But for the super fans of Run the Jewels, I understand why. I get it. And you are completely, you know, right about them because they are a great group. So for those people who are into Run the Jewels or who have heard about them but haven't heard any of their work, definitely pick up this album. Pick up the first Run the Jewels album because you won't be disappointed. They are a great group. That is a dope album. And I highly recommend that you guys check it out because, hey, you know, they're doing something special. These guys have been in the game for a long time, and it's great to see that, you know, coming together, they're actually getting the shine that they should have been getting years ago. But better late than never, right? So, Run the Jewels 2 is here. It's Granddad recommended. Very super highly. Super highly, I should say. All right? Flip it. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. Tell me what you think of Run the Jewels 2 if you've heard it. If you haven't heard it yet, make sure you go and check it out and, you know, show me some love. I think they have it on their website for free download. I'm not sure if it's still up. And if it is, you know, go ahead and download it. But make sure you still go support them. You know, if you like it, you know, iTunes, you know, go to the store, whatever it is, just support the artists because, you know, they got to eat, right? Also, previous videos on the side as well as my music video. Go ahead and check those out. Show them some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram. Links in the description below. And subscribe. Button on the screen. Button below. Go ahead and hit either one. You get that Woolly Reviews 2 times a week. Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you want that, go ahead and hit the button. That's all I got to say. So until next time, I take my leave. Granddad, Run the Jewels 2. I'm out of here.